All right, hello everyone, and welcome back for another Hope at the End of the Tunnel podcast. I am one of your co-hosts, Juanita Woodson, joined, of course, with my lovely co-host, Joy Phalo. And I am super excited. So we have on with us a special guest tonight, Miss Shannon. And Shannon, please correct me if I'm wrong. I want to make sure I say your last name correctly. Shannon,
Roane.
Roan. Okay. I
Mhm.
want to make sure I say your name correctly because listen, I grew up with having to correct people in my name my whole entire life. So we always allow people to do their own introduction. We always say no one can say who we are better than ourselves. So I am going to pass it to you. If you can let us know a little bit about yourself.
Mhm. I'm Shannon Roane. I am a wife. My husband and I, we've been married for 10 years. I am a mom of two. My son, he will be 5 years old this week. And I also have a 2-year-old. So a 5-year-old, a 2-year-old little girl. I am the founder of J&J Journals. I am the host of Highlight Your Healing podcast and a certified grief coach. I live in Atlanta, originally from Virginia, and something I like to do outside of, the mom and the podcast and the journals. I recently learned how to sew, and it's just a little hobby that I picked up, wanted to do something for myself outside of, what being a mom is and being a wife. So just something I picked up and something I can hand down to my daughter as well to teach her maybe how to sew her own clothes one day.
Oh, wow, that's amazing. I like that. So my sister taught herself how to sew, and she made it like a whole little thing. So are you making your daughter like pillowcase dresses and stuff like that? Have you done that yet?
So far, I've only made her a quilt. That's the first thing
Okay.
I've made so
Okay.
far. So no clothes for her just yet. I'm not at advanced just yet. I'm still kind of learning, but I have sewn her first quilt. So that's kind of a keepsake that hopefully, will be able to be passed down through generations. So I'll pass it on to her, and hopefully, whenever she has her own family, she can pass that down to her kids.
Right. That's cool. I just when you said so, and I just thought that was cool. Okay, we're gonna jump right into it. So we're gonna start off with this icebreaker. Since Sundays often give us a space to slow down, what's one small moment from this week that brought you joy or peace?
So what brought me joy this week is on Friday nights, my family and I, we go down to our basement, we turn some music on, and the kids are just singing and dancing, and they have this little disco light, and they're just having the best time. And to wind down the night, we pop popcorn and we have a movie night. So it's a little tradition that we've started, and our kids, they just get so excited about it and look forward to it. And it just brings me so much joy seeing the smiles on their face. As they're down there, they're just dancing around, and it's just the cutest little thing.
I
Oh.
like that. It's
Hmm.
always the small things, especially they're so young. They'll have great memories to hold on to, and I'm sure they'll probably do that with their kids as
Yes.
well. Oh, that's sweet.
I
You
love
just seem so sweet and soft. Like you have this calming spirit, and it's just amazing.
Thank you. Yes, they love
it.
it. They have their little disco light on and they are down there throwing their own party. So it's definitely something we look forward to every Friday.
I love that. It made me think of like a Hallmark movie. Like I was visualizing that as you were saying. I was like, oh, that's so sweet.
Mhm.
I love that. That gave me
Thank
like all the feels in that moment. That was so cute.
you.
That's so sweet. So yeah, so Shannon, can you share a little bit about your personal journey and what led you to become a grief coach?
Yes. So my grief journey started March 26th of 2019. I had a ruptured ectopic pregnancy that led to emergency surgery. And just 4 months after that, I lost my aunt, who was like a second mom to me, to pancreatic cancer. And then 6 months after losing my aunt, I had a miscarriage. So I had three losses back to back, and it really broke me in ways that I just really wasn't prepared for. I didn't have the words, I didn't have, the language for what I felt. I was still working, kind of doing the day-to-day stuff at work, but I wasn't okay deep down. And it's over time I realized so many women were walking around with that same silent grief. But becoming a grief coach, it wasn't a decision that I made lightly. I truly feel like it was something that I was called to do. It was, God really turned my pain into purpose and positioned me to support women who feel unseen in their grief. So I just knew I had to be obedient and just answer the assignment. So that's truly my journey of becoming a grief coach.
Wow, look at your strength.
Yeah. It was not easy, I will tell you that, but just turning the pain into purpose and being able to give back and help other women who I know they're suffering in silence because I was once there as well.
So let's talk about J&J journals. You can dive a little bit of into that. Tell us a
Mhm.
little bit about your journal.
Yeah, so J&J Journals was really born out of the days when I didn't know who to talk to or what to say. Those were the days where I was, like I said, suffering in silence and feeling alone. But journaling became that space where I could finally release everything I was carrying, the fear, the anger, all of the emotions, and even the prayers. I realized how healing it was just to write, to see my emotions on paper instead of holding them all in, because I didn't know at that time I didn't know anyone else who had went through what I had went through. So I was holding all of those emotions in, but journaling became the way, it was my safe space. It became the way I could put words to, or write what I was thinking, what I was feeling. And I wanted other women to have that same safe space. So a guided space to process their grief, faith, and self-care and hope. So J&J journals became my way of telling women you're not alone and your healing matters. So that's really what created J&J journals. It's just my own grief journey and that process of me putting those words to paper and me wanting to give other women that same safe space.
Wow. So, what does finding joy again after loss mean to you personally?
For me, finding joy, um, it doesn't mean that you're forgetting, right? It doesn't mean you're forgetting. It doesn't mean pretending that the pain didn't happen, that whatever you went through, it don't pretend that didn't happen. Um, Joy after loss really is about rebuilding a life where, your loved one or your experience is still a part of your personal story. But it's just in a different way. So it's choosing hope, even on the days when things still feel a little heavy. Joy, I feel, is a choice that we make over and over. So for me, it was about being intentional about choosing joy. I didn't want to be in that same foggy space, headspace. I was intentional about choosing joy for myself.
Many people struggle to even acknowledge their grief. How do you help women start the healing process?
Well, for me, I always start with permission.
Hmm.
Permission to feel, permission to not be okay, permission to just slow down, whatever that looks like. Give yourself permission to feel whatever it is that you need to feel. Um, a lot of us we were raised to just push through, right? We were raised to
Yeah.
just keep going, push through, be strong. So acknowledging grief feels sometimes it can feel wrong or that you're being too much or maybe even too dramatic. So I create a space for women to tell the truth about what actually hurts. And once you name it, you can start working through it. Silence kind of keeps you stuck, but being honest about how you feel actually helps you heal.
Yes. Listen, that is so funny. So we had a recording right before this, right? And we were talking about being honest about asking for help, right? Being
Hmm.
honest about asking for help. And I think it almost like goes in line with being honest about your grief, right? Being honest about what you need. So what are some common misconceptions about healing from trauma, loss, or heartbreak?
I would say some of the biggest misconceptions are, there is no timeline. Some people think that you should be over it by a certain point,
Hmm.
or that being strong means that not showing emotion. Some people feel like, I'm strong if I don't cry, right? Or that faith
Mhm.
can cancel out your feelings, and that healing means you'll never feel pain again. But we've all heard the term healing isn't linear. But some days you're okay, some days you're good, and the next day you're just not. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's really just grief being grief. So some days you're good, some days you're not.
I'm feeling away. This is really good information. I don't know. It's like listen to the information and then like you're so soft and gentle. It's just like how can anyone open up to you? And I don't know. And I have some my own thoughts and I'm sitting in some feels right now.
Hmm.
So sorry, I'm a little delayed. Juanita?
Yeah, and I wanted to ask the question, right? Because our podcast, so anyone can listen to this podcast, right? Mom,
Hmm.
dads, women, and even whether you have children or not. So I want to
Hmm.
ask a question for moms who may be sitting in their grief, right?
Hmm.
They still have to go throughout their day, right? How can women who still have to get up and go about the hustle and bustle of their every single day, what do you say to that woman who still has to deal with their grief and still have to be mom?
Yeah, so I call that a functional griever. You're doing all the things, you're fixing lunch, you're taking the kids to school, you're putting them to bed, and you're not taking time to slow down and feel exactly what it is that you need to feel. And I recently talked about that in my podcast. Are you a functional griever? Because we oftentimes we suppress those emotions and pretend that everything is fine. But I would tell you that, healing is intentional. It's slowing down, reflecting, and just actually listening to your own body, listening to yourself, and giving yourself permission, as we talked about a little earlier, just giving yourself to permission to slow down and feel whatever emotions that you need to feel. I understand that we have to be mom, right? Because mom won't go anywhere. We have to be mom. We have to be wife or partner, significant other, whatever that looks like. We have to be all of those things. We have to show up at work. I work a 9 to 5. I work, in human resources. I still have to show up and put on that work face every day. But all at the same time, if you're grieving, you have to give yourself permission to slow down and to feel whatever it is that you need to feel. Don't suppress those emotions. So that's what I would tell a mom who may be grieving, but still have to put on, the mom hat or, the corporate hat, the 9 to 5 hat. You have to still listen to whatever it is that your body is telling you, because if you don't, your body will make you slow down. I don't know if you've ever experienced that, but if you don't listen to your body, it forces you to slow down and listen.
Yes, I think I just
Yeah,
experienced that recently.
yeah, you have.
Yeah.
So, um, if there's a mom that's listening that may have just lost a child or gone through a miscarriage or anything, what are some encouraging words that you could give her if she's like in that depressed stage and not feeling herself? And this is something that's fresh. And I know it doesn't have a time on it because different things can trigger,
Mhm.
but fresh.
Right. Well, first I would say know who your support group is. Have a have community and let people know what it is that you need. When I think back to my own situation, I suffered in silence. I didn't tell anybody, you know, how to care for me. I didn't want to get out of bed. Um, as a mom who's going through child loss that's, fresh, help people understand how to help you, because most people don't know how to help. They want to support you, but they may not know how to. And I would tell anyone that's listening, if you are, supporting someone that's going through a loss, a recent loss, the first thing you can do is maybe offer to uh, buy dinner or, Uber Eats, send them a gift card, because the one thing that you have to do is eat. But as you're going through the grief, you don't want to have to think about how am I going to feed the rest of my family. So help people, understand how to support you, number one. So knowing who your support system is, and going back to allowing yourself to feel whatever the emotions are during that time, allowing yourself to feel it. Don't rush it. Don't allow anybody else to rush it for you. Some people, may want to help you push yourself past that point. Don't set boundaries, protect your peace. Protect your peace. Set boundaries, number one. And protect your peace. Set the boundaries, have a good support system, let people know how to support you. And if it's truly, I don't want to talk about it, I don't want anyone coming over to visit, whatever that looks like for you, let people know. I think that's the biggest thing, is letting people know how to help you. Because a lot of times we want people to help, but people don't know how to help. But we're also not, letting them know what they can do to be supportive for us.
That's good. So let's talk about your journals again, right? Because I think journaling is definitely a great tool. You mentioned that you use these yourself. So your journals are faith-based. So how does faith play a role in the healing process?
Yeah, so for me, faith was my anchor when everything felt uneasy. And I will tell you that there were times where I was angry. I was mad at God for allowing me to go through what I went through. So I will tell you it was easy, but it wasn't always easy. There were times where I struggled, and I'm like, I had to draw way back in my in my scripture bag. Like, all right, now I got to find a scripture for this because this is hard. Um, so when I didn't, understand what was happening, faith reminded me that God was still with me. So like I said, I stuck to those scriptures. I believe it's Psalm 34:18, where the Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. So I had to dig down in that scripture bag and find those things that, kind of help keep me going. Um, and faith doesn't remove grief. So, even though I went through that time frame where I was like, all right, God, like what, I'm a good you're going through all those things, like checking the box, like I go to church, I read my Bible. Why did this happen to me? So I had those questions of what, questioning God. Um, but at the end of the day, like I said, faith doesn't remove grief. It does give you strength to just to walk through it, because eventually you're going to have to walk through your grief. You can't go around it. Sometimes you just got to walk through it. But it reminds you that your story doesn't end at pain, that he will give you beauty for your ashes. And I truly believe that. And I always believe that he will give you beauty for your ashes. It may not be when you want it to happen, um, but it will be in the right timing. And that's how it happened for me.
All right. Can you walk us through one of your guided journals? Maybe is there like an exercise that
Mhm.
helps your client?
So one of my most impactful exercises is naming your grief. So you have to be able to acknowledge what it is that you're grieving. So I would say that's the first step, is naming your grief. And I often ask them to write, what hurts the most right now. So kind of getting into, what are you feeling? Are you angry? Are you sad? Are you upset? Do you feel lonely? Do you feel alone? And what are maybe some things that you wish you could say out loud? Um, I have a grief journal. I have a pregnancy loss journal. I have a prayer journal for women. And each of my journals almost went through each of the stages that I went through. So, my prayer, self-care journal, I have a positive affirmations, that's just a free write journal. I have a gratitude journal. So even though I was going through what I was going through, I still could find little small, you know, glimmers of things that I was grateful for. I was grateful to be alive. I had internal bleeding. I had a ruptured ectopic pregnancy and had internal bleeding. And if it wasn't cared for, I may not be here to tell my story. So just finding small moments of gratitude. So each of my journals kind of cater to each of, I would say, the stages that I went through uh, through my own grief journey. So, like I said, I have a grief journal, prayer journal for women. I have a pregnancy loss journal, self care, the gratitude, and positive affirmations, because I definitely speak positive affirmations over myself, just to keep me going.
Yes. So we know that after the loss, right? We know that you now have two beautiful babies, right? So
hmm
can you tell us about that hope at the end of the tunnel, right? Can you
hmm
tell us about the testimony that came after?
So, like I said, yeah, I was in my faith bag, my prayer bag, my scripture bag, because that's all I could lean on in those moments where it maybe felt like I was by myself and there wasn't any hope. So, for me, just continuing to repeat, scriptures and the promises that God has for me and for us, those were the things that I stuck to the most. So for me, finding that hope, and we have time, I'll tell a really quick story. So as I was praying and asking God, I want to be a mom. Like that's what I want. I want to be a mom. And one day I was driving on my way to work. It was raining. I remember the day was raining. And in Atlanta, there's always a lot of traffic. I was on 285 and there was a tractor trailer that had passed by me. And we were all kind of stopped at the moment. And literally on the side of the tractor trailer, it said, it's, the easy button. It said, it's easy. All you have to do is ask, dot, 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 God. When I tell you, I'm like, this is the biggest sign from God. Like, it's easy. All you have to do is ask. And I just remember getting so emotional and crying in the car that day when I saw that message on the side of a tractor trailer. And at that time, my husband and I, we were still trying to conceive after our two losses. And a month later, I had a positive pregnancy test, and that was my son. He was born December of 2020.
Oof. Yes, Lord. I love that.
Wow. When's his birthday? December what?
10th.
Oh, in just a
Wednesday.
few days. Yay.
Yes,
So
so
you're
he
planning
will
a
be.
birthday party, huh?
Yes, yes. Planning a birthday party. My baby boy, he will be 5 years old, and we cannot believe how fast time truly goes. But he is my double rainbow baby, and
Wow.
Yes.
yes,
What's his name?
Jalen. So Jalen and Jada, that's where the J and J comes
Oh.
from, the
But
J and J journals.
I have all J's too. Yeah. So, okay. So, how do you help women reframe their pain as a tool for personal growth and purpose?
Uh, so what I like to do, like I said, is for me journaling. So whatever it is that you're going through, and journaling may not be for everybody, right? So I don't try to push that on people that it may not be for. Um, but I do encourage journaling because it is very therapeutic and it can get you through those moments of pain where you can put it onto paper. And working through journaling also helps you see what it is that you're going through. Over time, you see your growth as you are, you go back and look through what you went through. I oftentimes, not recently, but I have gone back through my journals during that time just to see, growth, right? How far I have come from that, the things that, caused me pain or that was painful for me during that time. And it really reminds you that your purpose doesn't erase the pain.
Yeah.
It gives you meaning for what you survived. So that's what I encourage you to do is just, just kind of write it down, what happened to you, start seeing how you grew, how it stretched you, and how it positioned you to love and live with deeper intention. So for me, that's kind of how I help them work through that process. And when they share their story, I often tell people sharing your story is healing. It can help the next person when you share your story, supporting someone else, or just learning something new about yourself. That's purpose rising from the pain. So I often encourage people, when you're ready, tell your story, share your story, because that is a part of healing, and it helps you, see where you come from, and it may help the next person.
Absolutely. I love that. So, what's one piece of encouragement you'd give to women who feel stuck in their grief?
One, there's no timeline. And we talked about that before. So, feel whatever you need to feel for however long you need to feel. I would also say that, get help, get support. I did also go to see a counselor. So, when things felt too hard for me, yes, I still journaled, but there was a moment where I needed like real help, and I saw a therapist. So if you feel like, all right, I've tried everything that I know how to do, don't be afraid to go and get professional. I know sometimes, especially in the Black and Brown community, we don't seek therapy. It is nothing wrong with going to seek therapy. You're not behind, you're not broken, you're not failing. You're really just navigating something that changed your life. And you deserve compassion where you're trying to figure out what life looks like now. So just give yourself time to, just grow and heal at your own pace.
Absolutely.
Wow. So for anyone that may be listening, how can they connect with you? Where can they find these journals? Do you do virtual courses, anything of that nature?
No, I don't have any virtual courses that I'm doing on a daily basis right now. I do have a Healing Beyond course. That is a self-paced course, and that you can find that on my Stand store. But all of my guided journals and resources are on my website at jnjjournals.com. My podcast is Highlight Your Healing, and that's on Spotify as well as Apple Podcast. Um, and I'm on Instagram as well at J_journals. And that's, where I share some tips, encouragement, and all things healing and journaling. But those are all of the ways you can find out what it is that, I have going on, all of my resources and tools for healing. I also just started a free school community. Highlight Your Healing. It's where we connect, share, and kind of grow together. And it's almost like an extension from my podcast, where if you are looking to, go a little deeper than what we talked about on my podcast, I do have a free school community now called Highlight Your Healing.
Okay, awesome. We'll definitely check that out. So we always end the show with this last question, and that is, what does hope at the end of the tunnel mean to you?
To me, hope at the end of the tunnel means trusting what you're walking through. Right now, it won't last forever. Even when the season feels just heavy or uneasy, as it will feel, there's still a future being prepared for you. You might not see the light yet, but God is already there making a way. I believe that hope reminds you that this moment is a part of your story and is not the end of it. And there are much brighter days ahead on the other side of whatever it is that you're facing. So for me, that's what hope at the end of the tunnel means.
Yes, absolutely. Whew. Thank you so much for taking this time out and just reminding us of all the amazing things that you shared with us this evening. I hope that our listeners will definitely go and connect with you, J and J Journals. Definitely make sure that you go and connect with Shannon. Check out her podcast. Make sure when you check her out that you don't just subscribe. Make sure, I always tell the listeners to leave some takeaways, leave a comment.
Yes.
When you go and you check out her journals, make sure that you leave a review. We know for authors, those reviews are imperative. That is
Yes.
so important. When you check out her podcast on Spotify or Apple, make sure that you leave some stars. It's so important. Thank you so much for taking this time out with us, Shannon. Thank you so much for tuning in for the Hope at the End of the Tunnel podcast. Take care.